From the highs for the frontline indices, the Nifty down almost 0.75%. I'm Mangla Malu, with me Vivek. We'll talk about the markets in just a bit, but let's go to earnings. Pidilite reported a good operational performance, gross margins increasing sharper than expected. I spoke with the company's MD CEO Bharat Puri to discuss their first quarter performance. Began by asking him about how they managed to grow volumes in double digit despite the disruptions in the quarter, but more importantly, what the outlook is. Hear it out.
You know that at Pidilite, we have been on a journey where we see each quarter as a continuing journey. We have a very clear strategy in place, core categories to grow at 1 to 2 times GDP, growth categories at 2 to 4 times GDP, enter new pioneer categories which become growth categories. We've continued on the journey. It's not that we've also seen disruptions in the first quarter. For example, the long election and its related impact on whether it was wholesale, whether it was on availability of labor. This, along with the severe heat wave in large parts of India, did impact us. But we've obviously continued on the journey we've been on. So, for example, one of the things that has worked for us and continues to work for us is rural growths are still 1.5 times urban growths. This is something that we've now been seeing for the last 8 quarters. Our investments in emerging India, as we call it, whether it is rural or small town India, our Pidilite Ki Dunia initiative, we now have 14,000 Pidilite Ki Dunias in villages below 15,000. We've now got 28,000 villages under direct coverage with a population of below 10,000. So whether it is sales and distribution, whether it is innovation, each of our divisions has launched a range of products. At Fevicol, we've launched Nail Free Ultra, which is a substitute for nails in your home if you want to put up towel racks or mirrors. At Dr. Fixit, we've launched a product called All Seal, which helps your home, actually seal against waterproofing under construction. Fevikwik has a new range. So we've got a whole range of innovations. We've got the supply chain in place. And therefore, the Fevicol elephant has kept marching on. We'd hope now the current good monsoon actually also improves in distribution, and the festive season is great and we don't have any new geopolitical events, then we are really optimistic about the second quarter and more importantly, the second half.
You preempted my next question because, while you aspired to grow at double digits in your consumer business, this time around was just about there, close to around 8%. So with the disruptions out of the way, I believe that would be on the cards. What about the B2B business? That grew 18%. That's a pace that we haven't seen earlier. Was there something different this time around, and is that sustainable?
See, we've been calling out for some period of time that we are recasting our B2B business. We are clear that we want to move up the value chain, go into newer value-added businesses. So actually, one, obviously that has happened. The second is very simply the international environment, especially for our pigments division, which suffered last year, this year has really come back very, very strongly. So overall, again, we will look at double-digit volume growths, not just for consumer and bazaar, but also B2B going forward.
All right. And what about the margins? I mean, we have seen a bigger decline in VAM prices from the fourth quarter now into the first quarter as well. And that's reflected in the way your gross margins and EBITDA margins have panned out. And now as we speak, closer to 24%, they're at the higher end of your band. Do we expect it to moderate from here on, maybe some more price cuts in the offing for you to pump up volumes a lot more? I mean, or do we also see them going above that band that you've given, 20 to 24%?
See, as far as we believe now VAM prices have reached where they're unlikely to go down any further. We're in a comfortable position as far as VAM is concerned. Whatever price cuts we had to take, we have taken, which is why you will see that our value still lags volume. I think in the second half, you will see value and volume both converge. And again, barring any geopolitical events which completely change the environment, I think both from a sales and profitability point of view, we remain fairly optimistic about the rest of the year.
You often give us, the 20 to 24% band on a consolidated basis. Let me just ask you on both the businesses. Do you have any specific bands that you target either in the industrial business or the consumer business?
We have clear formulas as far as core segments are concerned. We have a certain investment both in ASP as well as manpower. We have separate investments in growth segments. Pioneer is something that we don't worry about from a financial point of view. From the first year, we obviously make sure that gross margins are adequate, but we invest. So we have clear algorithms in Pidilite. Now, I'd be disclosing a lot if I disclosed all of that to my competition, but you can see that most of it seems to work.
All right. On rural, you said it's growing at 1.5 times. What's your aspiration here? 2 times? Do you foresee that coming in the next couple of quarters?
See, if rural demand, and frankly, we will only know this, Mangalam, post-September, because as of now, the second quarter is always a light quarter. So the second quarter is, especially July and parts of August, are not representative of the festive season because of the very strong monsoon. So, this question, if rural demand does pick up, because there has been a strain in rural India, I definitely think that rural growths will improve. But I think this question is probably best answered in the end of the September quarter.
And what about the value-volume convergence? That happens in the second half. Do we see some bits of price increase towards, say, the end of this year?
See, what we are finding is, with the exception of VAM, there is this little bit of inflationary trend in other raw materials. It's not significant. We're looking at it. If we feel the need, it'll be minor at best. It's not going to be any major price increases.
How big has the tiles category become, and what are these new categories that you're entering?
See, as far as tiles is concerned, really what is very encouraging for us is we're growing at a very healthy pace. But even now, 1 out of every 4 customers in India actually uses tile adhesive. 3 out of 4 actually just use plain cement. So you can see the runway for growth is a long runway. And, again, our objective is not to worry just about competition, but to worry about growing the category. So as far as I can see, the next 3 years, tile adhesives will be a very strong growth category. Similarly, you will see us enter some other new growth categories.
Which is what I wanted to know once again. What are those new growth categories?
Like, for example, we've put up a plant, so that's not confidential anymore, for exterior renders. Now, this is a product that's never been made in India. If you go to parts of Europe, you will find on the exterior, they have this plaster cum paint, which, works for 8 to 10 years. We've just put up a new plant for that in Rajasthan. That's a new category for India. Now, that's a category we'll seed. It will take some time because it's completely new. But like this, that Pidilite is, as we say, long-term player. We spot unserved needs, we fill those with a product and then a brand, and then we work tirelessly until we create the category. So you will see that happening.
Plaster plus paint. Should your previous company worry?
I don't think anybody should worry, and they have enough to worry about with other competition. We're a small player who is very clear about small town and rural India. We're at our own pace. We've always said that, listen, we're not getting into the ring and getting into this big bang approach. We're happy with where we are. Companies like us, with the strong sales and distribution reach that we have, the first 6 months, everything is successful. So I've always said that, listen, I will comment on the paint initiative after one full festive season and see where it settles down. But overall, as I said, I don't think any of the paint companies have much to worry about.
Well, a very interesting conversation there with Mangalam, with the management over there. Let's